The structure on the right hand side is folic acid, and we'll begin this video just by talking about how folic acid is used by the human body. So it's used to form something called tetrahydrofolate, and what tetrahydrofolate does is it receives 1 carbon fragments from donors like serine, glycine and histidine, and it transfers them to intermediates in the synthesis of amino acids, purines and thymidine monophosphate, and thymidine monophosphate is found in DNA. So if we're talking about folic acid, we need to mention anemia, and this is a condition where the blood has lower levels of hemoglobin, and one of the causes of anemia can be due to a deficiency of folic acid. So this type of anemia is known as nutritional anemia or megaloblastic anemia, and that's because a folic acid deficiency results in large amounts of immature red blood cell precursors called megaloblasts in the blood and bone marrow. So the reason we get this folic acid deficiency can be caused by a few reasons. One of them is an increased demand of folic acid, so that's in a case of lactation or a pregnancy that requires more folic acid to be used by the body. Some form of small intestine pathology is another reason we can have a folic acid deficiency. So we aren't absorbing enough folic acid in the small intestines. Another cause of the deficiency is by alcoholism or use of certain drugs like methotrexate. So a primary result of folic acid deficiency is megaloblastic anemia, and that's due to a reduced synthesis of purines and thymidine monophosphate, and that results in an inability of cells, including red blood cell precursors, to produce DNA, so they aren't able to divide. I want to point your attention to this diagram here, which shows you how folic acid is used. It's converted into dihydrofolate, and then that's via the enzyme dihydrofolate reductase, and NADPH is also required in this reaction, and then that is used to form tetrahydrofolate, which is then used to form the N5, N10 methyl N tetrahydrofolate, and then the formyl version as well. And then that is involved in DNA, but I want to point your attention to here where we can see that vitamin B12 is also involved in the production of tetrahydrofolate. So in terms of this use in DNA, vitamin B12 also has a role. And for folic acid to be used, it must first be converted into tetrahydrofolate, or that's otherwise known as tetrahydrofolic acid, and that's done by the enzyme dihydrofolate reductase. Just to finish off this video, I've included some sources of folic acid. Those are leafy green vegetables, nuts, beans, poultry, meat and seafood. The recommended daily allowance for folic acid is 400 micrograms for adults 19 years and older, 600 micrograms for pregnant women, and 500 micrograms for lactating women.